Today isn't just Valentine's Day, it's also Chinese New Year. And no celebration would be complete without a big meal. But have you ever wondered where those slightly more exotic Chinese vegetables like pak choy and bean sprouts actually come from? James Wong has been finding out.
The Vale of Evesham in Worcestershire, Garden of England.
It's like a vegetable factory pumping out the stuff all year round. And in this case, it's these bad boys, Savoy cabbages, destined for supermarkets up and down the country.
Sure, other places lay claim to the title, but this Garden of England has been churning out the basics of the great British diet for generations.
But times and tastes have changed, and so has the Garden of England.
In the last 10 years, there's been a major shift in attitudes to food in the UK, and one of the biggest influences has been cuisine from the Far East. Now vegetables from China and Southeast Asia are an established part of the diet, and among them are these fellows, bean sprouts, grown in Evesham under almost laboratory conditions.
Have a look at that. This is about as CSI as farming gets. Now you start out with these guys, mung beans. Now, these are a really popular food in their own right in Southeast Asia, used in all sorts of dishes. But in the UK, it's really all about the sprouts. And they grow thousands of tons of this stuff in the Vale of Evesham each year.
It's a response to the ever-expanding market for Chinese food and healthy eating.
And there are all sorts of fantastic claims about them, filled with vitamins and minerals. They're even supposedly packed with digestive-boosting enzymes. And they grow at a fantastically quick rate. So after just 24 hours, this is what they look like on day 1. Day 2. And on day 3. And day 4.
What's remarkable is they don't even need to be planted in anything, just regularly doused with water.
And here's the really cool bit. Day 5, you walk into the next bunker and you're faced with literally a mountain of bean sprouts. I can safely say I've never seen this many bean sprouts in one place. It's kind of like the White Cliffs of Dover made out of vegetables. How many seeds do you have to plant to get this many?
In this room, we sowed 2 tons of seeds, and we should generate a harvest of about 16, 17 tons.
Gosh, so almost 9 times as many as you're going in.
We're basically adding water.
Now, there doesn't seem to be any structure under here. How do you get so many in one place?
It's so strong, it actually pushes the whole beans up. So the top beans are the same as the bottom beans.
This isn't a greenhouse. It's almost like a bunker, and you've got green lights in here which suppress photosynthesis. So presumably, like, what's going on here? Is it dark normally?
Yes, it is. They're grown in the dark because it is a green plant, bean sprouts. So if there was light in here, the beans would photosynthesize, and you would end up with green shoots.
So you want them to be as white as possible?
Yes.
And sort of as clean as possible, and no green leaves or anything like that?
No.
So even though the Vale of Evesham is that really traditional veg-growing area, we could be anywhere, really. We could be in a bunker, we could be on the top of a skyscraper. Really, conditions are almost irrelevant.
Conditions are totally irrelevant. We could grow these anywhere.
Now, it might seem like Chinese food has been part of the British diet forever. As little as 30 years ago, most people would struggle to recognize one of these, let alone know how to cook them.
Chinese restaurants only really became a common sight on the high streets of Britain in the early 60s, the result of an influx of immigrants. And it was to meet the needs of these new arrivals that the Chinese veg started to be grown in the UK. Su Hung's father-in-law helped pioneer these strange new crops.
There wasn't much variety at the time. There wasn't even bean sprouts. So he just started to grow a bit of vegetables in the back garden, and he took it to local supermarkets. Eventually he decided to take more interest and try and go commercial. But Evesham is a very well-known growing area, and the soil is very rich and very good for growing. So they moved over.
Presumably the geography is quite important as well, because it's central, it's quite close to some big cities.
Yeah, it's close to London, it's close to Manchester, it's in between, it's very central.
What began as a cottage industry has been transformed over the last decade into a major growing concern, with the producers in the Vale of Evesham at the heart of it. Joe Palati's dad came from Italy to Evesham in the 60s to grow English veg, but now, for him, the cash crop is Chinese.
Joe, look at that. That's amazing. Oriental veg growing in English soil. What is this, bok choy?
Bok choy and, as we know it in the UK, pak choy.
Yeah, we call it bai tai in Mandarin, a white vegetable, literally. Have you been growing it long?
We had a go at growing it about 25 years ago. A Chinese guy knocked on the door on his way past and said, here's some seed, have a go at this. The market wasn't quite ready for us, and since then, consumer habits have changed. 10 years later or so, the same guy knocked on the door and we had another go, and here we are now.
So from a little trial, greenhouses filled with rows and rows of it. It's that quick that the market has changed.
Yeah, we grow somewhere in the region of between 4 and 6 million plants a year.
As people become more open to new flavours and new foods, I'm sure we'll find even more exotic stuff being grown in the UK. But what about those mad health claims? Superfood or super hype? Time for a quick fry-up with a dietitian. Stir-frying, obviously.
I want to know from you as an expert, what's the truth behind all the health claims in bean sprouts?
Well, the thing about bean sprouts is they would count as one of your 5 portions of fruit and veg. About a quarter of this packet would. They are a rich source of vitamin C, B vitamins, you get fibre, but you get those in other vegetables. So the message is, yes, have them, but don't just have bean sprouts.
What about the stuff like this pak choy, really exotic, grown in the UK? It's in the cabbage family. Does it have all of the benefits that things like Brussels sprouts and broccoli are supposed to have?
It does, yeah, it does. And I would say to people, if you can't get hold of that, or you want something not so exotic, then cabbage or spinach is going to do the same thing.
And those mystical enzymes in bean sprouts, your nearest and dearest may be glad you're eating them. They could help prevent wind.
Now, you always hear that stir-frying is a really healthy way of cooking. Is there any truth to that, because of the short cooking time?
Absolutely, yes. It's heat can kill the nutrients, so that's what you want to do. You're just sealing in that delicious food. You're keeping it quite crunchy, so you've got the texture still.
Yeah.
Bon appetit. What do they say in China for bon appetit?
Do you know, I don't think we really say that. But you can say, 真好吃, which means this is really delicious.
Oh, well, thank you.